Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Football Fandemic, where this week we are finding out which teams are going off the rails and which ones are singing "Don't Stop Me Now." Quarter way through the season, is it up or down for teams? Join the guys now on the Football Fandemic. Well, guys, here we are. We just finished 5 weeks. And when you're in a 17-week like regular season, it's hard to say what's the quarter mark, because 4 is too little, 5 is too much. But we're right about there, about the quarter way mark. And we're going to be talking about kind of what teams are looking good, what teams are kind of maybe falling apart. But we're going to get to that in a minute. First, we're going to hit some of our news from around the NFL, some stuff that's happened in this last week. Big news that happened just before the Bears game this last week. Dick Butkus, famous Bear, passed away, and there was all sorts of tributes and video montage and stuff going on, at least what I saw. Wait, when was that game? Was that
Thursday?
Thursday night.
A week
I
ago.
knew it was like in the middle of the week. I'm like, my week is getting so blurry right now. But yeah, what did you guys think of all those montages and all those thoughts of Dick Butkus going?
Dick Butkus was definitely with the Bears in their victory over the Washington Commanders. I mean, the dude passes away, and then they look like a competent NFL team. I'm sure it's only a 1 week stint, but I'm glad they were able to honor him with a victory. It's kind of the way Dick would have wanted it to be.
I think it's the way Josh wanted it to be too, right, Josh?
No.
We'll talk about that in a moment. We'll let him unleash his full wrath of the Commanders football team on Thursday, but we're going to hold off on that for a moment. It's always hard when these people that you grew up knowing the name, and it just seemed like a pillar of the game, when they pass away. Sometimes they pass away and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize they were still alive. That sounds really bad, but
there you go, Matthew.
Don't use that as a clip, Josh, for social media. Everybody will be hating me. Everybody will be hating me, but
Well,
Rams
you only had one hater a couple weeks ago. And
we did have a hater.
We cleared that up. So
hating. Well, they basically just said
Blake?
this. No, it was some Swiftie looked at me when I said I'd never heard a Taylor Swift song and said, well, look at him. He doesn't look like somebody who would hear a Taylor Swift song. And I politely got on and said, I agree with your assessment. I do not look like someone who would even know Taylor Swift. But I have nothing against Taylor Swift. Seems like a great person. And I'm glad she's doing what she's doing. I will say this. I think she's baller for re-recording all her stuff so that she got the royalties instead of the previous record company. I know that much, and I think that was an awesome move. Good job, Taylor. Rams trade wide receiver Van Jefferson to the Falcons for a late round pick swap. I'm not going to lie. I don't really see Van Jefferson much in my fantasy league, so I don't really pay too much attention to Van Jefferson.
Yeah, I think it's fine. He had a time where he was like, okay, this guy might be something. That was right after Robert Woods left, but then kind of fell off from there. So
was also
him going to the Falcons. Yeah, him going to the Falcons for a late round. Oh, I know about Puka. That's right. I know. Matthew also knows about Puka.
You have Puka, right?
I do. Yeah, I rocked the Puka, the Puka Cup.
I just want to say,
duo
everybody,
last weekend.
Things are looking up. We're going to get to this later, but for fantasy, Brandon's team is looking up. He's got Puka, but he also just got back Jonathan Taylor, and Anthony
Cooper
Richardson
Kupp
just got put on IR. So there is going to be a lot more running, I do believe, and all things are conspiring to get Brandon his next fantasy football championship.
That's right. My gambling during the draft. These players are injured. We'll pick them up for late rounds. I'm picking them up now. I am getting them now because later on it's going to turn out well. And I've had a pretty competent season. I'm sitting like 6th right now in the league, but that will change. That will change because we all have the same record except for poor little Brian.
3-2.
Yeah, except for poor little Brian down there physically unable to perform.
I think there's 3, right? Or 4.
No, there's like 6.
All of us are 3 and 2, and then there's a couple 2 and 3s, and then there's like a 1 and something.
I know me and Dylan, because we played each other this week. We're 1 and 2 at 3 and 2.
Well, everybody is at 3 and 2 for the first 8 spots, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's hard to say who's great and who's
So-
not. I will tell you
And
this.
then 0-5.
I came within just an easy little a score away from
fraction,
beating the team that beat me. And I had Anthony Richardson leave, like with 4 points, and I just had like such bad scoring, but so did they. But they had enough to beat me. So we're at 3-2. I had the chance to take the entire lead on such a crazy game. All right, let's go ahead. Broncos trade outside linebacker Randy Gregory to the 49ers. 49ers already have like a super well-rounded team. They're adding depth, it looks like. And the Broncos, man, what a heap. What a heap.
Yeah.
I guess they're tied with the Bears, so we can't say that they're worse. Can we? Or can we?
I think they're the same.
Here's what I can say. Sean Payton, he did not make the difference yet. We'll see.
Not defensively, but offensively, I'd say he did.
So the Broncos are getting rid of somebody because they're such a bad team. They're like, let's get some value. But so are the Bears. Bears trade wide receiver Chase Claypool to the Dolphins. Chase Claypool's really not been doing much with the Bears anyway. He's going to go behind Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And who didn't they have another guy that kind of...
I can't remember, but actually, I think they're starting. Mike McDaniel said something about him taking snaps, at least in practice. I'm not sure about in a game. Maybe they move him to wide receiver in a game, but at least taking snaps at tight end for the Dolphins.
Yeah, because they got rid of Mike Gesicki, who was their like big tight end target. He's now in New England, and so having Claypool, who's a big physical receiver, I guess he's not big, but he's very physical, right? Yeah, he's like an Alan Lazard type guy. He could play tight end. He's excellent in the blocking game, and I know he was hating everything in Chicago. But this is a very different receiver room. You're looking at Tyreek Hill, who Matthew has come to love since the draft.
He is the number one wide receiver in the football league right now.
Yeah. And he's also depending on who you ask, the fastest guy in the league.
If you ask him, he is for sure.
Yeah.
If you ask him, he's faster than a cheetah. I race a cheetah.
And so I love watching him play because it's just like the defender, you can't turn around fast enough to accelerate to catch up to him. You just have to know his route. It's ridiculous what he's able to do.
Here's what I'll say for Chase Claypool. He just stepped into a good situation from a bad situation. So his life should be happy right now.
Yeah, you're no longer having Justin Fields throw you the ball. You have Tua, who might be our MVP this season. That's a pretty big change. The guy that was supposed to be the MVP to the potential MVP.
A little story. So you guys know Evan. Well. You know Cameron relatively well enough. And then, so you guys know those two. And there's a guy I work with who's a Dolphins fan at the pizza shop. And he was at the beginning of the season. He was like, and Tua for MVP, I'll bet you, as a joke. I mean, not really as a joke. He said he was serious about it. But the joke was that he said, I'll bet you $5 on it. He probably would have bet more if he was serious about it, but we're friends, so it's just a little amount. And he's like, bet you $5 to his MVP, and we're all like, all right, I'll take that because I didn't take it. Evan and Cameron did. I believe Cameron did. I know Evan did, and maybe another one of my friends. And he was like, they're like, I'll take this because we all thought he was going to get injured. He thought the injuries might catch up to him or whatever from the past season, and I think the guy at the pizza shop that made the bet is about to win at least $10-15 from whoever.
He's still got several games to go, but he's definitely on track.
Enough money to buy a pizza. You know a good shop where you can buy one?
If only he knew of one.
We get the half off discount if we work. So
there you go.
He can buy two.
Yeah.
Make it two. Hey, flag football added to the 2028 Olympics. I didn't know this, but evidently Brandon and Josh at the Packers owners meeting found this little tidbit of future possibility.
We did learn about it. So 2028 is in LA, the Olympics are. And so the NFL has been making a big push for the past year or so to the Olympic Committee. Nothing was confirmed, but the final offer was submitted, and Josh and I learned about it at the Packers owner meeting at Lambeau Field.
I mean, here's the thing. Will football aficionados care enough about flag football? And will the people who don't care about football care at all?
So here's what it is if you're talking a world sport here, if we brought everyone in to full-on NFL football from around the world, America would win. Without a doubt, America would win. So flag football makes it more accessible to have more countries participate. And one of the things that we voted on during the owners meeting was allocating funds throughout the state of Wisconsin to fund flag football programs at the high schools and elementary schools. So we can start to prepare as a state to get a flag football team together for that, or send people on the American contingent to
there you
participate.
go. Forward looking. Forward looking.
I can understand Matthew's opinion though. Like, are people going to watch it? Because nobody watches, or everybody's upset. At least very few people watch it. The Pro Bowl right now, and it's turned into flag football or whatever, two-hand touch or whatever, and of course the mini games they do, which is kind of fun. But the overall game is two-hand touch or flag football, and everybody's like, upset with it. So are people going to be more? It's going to be 4 years or 5 years.
The only difference I can see is that even though it's flag football, they will be trying to win, and that's the difference with the Pro Bowl. Pro Bowl, they're like, he got the ball. Dunk.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Here's the way I see it. So it's under the title of the Olympics. Yeah. And do either of you watch swimming outside of the Olympics? Do either of you watch track and field outside of the Olympics, or figure skating? No, it's going to be a one-time thing that you turn on every 4 years. And so it's a more special event.
Might be every 2 years though, because we play football in the winter too. So it's like,
well, they're not doing winter football at the Olympics.
That'd be cool though.
It would be. I mean, just do it in Wisconsin, and you got it.
Like they would have the Olympics in Wisconsin. Hey, let's look forward. Let's look forward to some more forward thinking, and that is our predictions that we did at the beginning of the year. What's our record right now, Josh, on those?
Overall record. Let me look at I tweeted it out a couple of days ago. I just have to pull it up. But man, this week we thought we'd go, but go ahead, get a couple games ahead. Like we went 9-7, 10-6, 11-5, and then we dropped down a little bit to 8-8. And we're like, last week, me and Matthew were like, all right, we're gonna jump back up. And all we did was we jumped back down. We went 10-6 or 6-10, sorry. And
so for the year, we are, I think, just one game under 50% or 500. So
I think we're a little bit above it. I just have to find the tweet.
All right. Well, you look at that.
44-36.
44-30. Oh yeah. So we're still in the positive. I still feel good. I still feel good about this. Although we're going to get every Jets game wrong from here on out, and every Bengals game wrong.
Yes.
Bengals
there's a
might
positive to this There's a silver lining to this terrible record that we had for Week 5 is that the Colts have already matched and will probably at some point beat, because we have so much games left. Adam Rank's prediction for the Colts season so far.
Adam,
there you go.
What do you know?
Not
but
more
they
than
still
us.
have yet to meet our expectations, which I think were 5 wins, right? He said 3. We said we said more than 5. I don't know. I'd have 7. To go back and look. 7. Okay. Well, hey, we are going to get Brandon to talk a little bit about what happened with his Packers this week, because Brandon has to take off a little early on us today out of the studio, and Josh and I are going to finish up. But what did you see in this? I'll tell you this. I had Anthony Richardson in at quarterback because last week he got 33, and Jordan Love, who's my other quarterback in fantasy, only got like a smaller number. I forget what it was. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to switch him. And of course, Anthony Richardson goes out early, only gets 4 points. I'm like, man, I should have switched. And then I scrolled down to Jordan Love, and you know what? He got less. I don't know how that happened. Tell me about this game.
Oh, hold on. Let me look at it really quick.
You're like, I got to see if that's actually true.
Did you do that during the game or after the game?
That was during the game. Let's see what it turned out. Let's see what it turned out. Of course, I'd have to go back and look at the last week's because the score.
Week 5. Rags to Richardson. 4.98 compared to 4.42. So
yes.
0.06.
But Jordan Love got less, right?
No, Jordan Love got more.
He got more. So he ended up edging out the guy who only played like a snap or two. Good job, Jordan Love. How did he do that great performance of 4.9298, whatever it was?
Well, so there's a lot of things to unpack here for the Packers. And I went through this with Brandon Harris, and I've mentioned it on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Is this season's kind of a roller coaster for the Packers. This is our bottom point of the roller coaster. I do not think we can play a worse game than this. If that happens, I go play flag football. Okay.
Go.
So, all right, let's break down a few things here. So the number one thing to understand is the Packers are the youngest team in the NFL, which means there are going to be growing pains. This podcast is familiar with me talking about growing pains, not usually with the Packers, usually with Anthony Richardson, but nevertheless, it still applies here. So here's my thoughts on Jordan during that game. He has to have better accuracy on downfield throws. This is plus 20 yards downfield. He's got an absolute cannon for an arm, and we've all seen it, but he doesn't know how to control it yet. The offensive line needs much better communication. There were many plays during the game where 2 to 3 Raiders players were just getting through because the offensive line didn't know their blocking assignments. And so if you're not blocking, you're not doing anything, and you're going to put Jordan Love under more pressure, which is not going to help with his accuracy. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. We had no answer for Max Crosby. Absolutely no answer. The thought was, we'll just pull a young tight end over and hope he can get to Max Crosby fast enough. Max Crosby is faster than those tight ends. That did not happen. And you didn't adjust anything during the entire game. What I would have done is I would have put Josh Neisman in as an H-back third string tight end sort of guy to just go and have 2 tackles on Max Crosby. That would have been the easiest thing to do. And Josh is experienced enough doing that where he could have pulled it off. Josh is the one that had the blocked field goal punt and filled in for David Bakhtiari when he initially went out. And so he's done pretty well. Do
you feel like you can have faith in Matt LaFleur since he did not pick up on this that you clearly saw?
Well, I called Brian Gutekunst. I shared my thoughts with my GM.
Trying to get Matt LaFleur fired?
No, not fired. I like what Matt does. Matt's in kind of a weird position right now, and I don't want to put it 100% on Matt. I know he beats himself up enough for it. But let me finish the Vegas recap, and then I'll get into what needs to happen. Yes. It's our bye week, so if we lose the bye week, I'll be very disappointed. Rasul Douglas was excellent all game. By far the most consistent player every snap throughout the entire game. A lot of the times he was on Davante Adams. I was kind of disappointed I didn't get to see more Jair Alexander and Davante Adams, since those guys used to train against each other and have such a great relationship. It's fun to watch them play. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why Joe Barry decided, we're just not going to put our best player on their best player, especially when we know what their best player can do, because he was with us when he was doing it. Mm-hmm. But Rasul did, in all honesty, Rasul did well against Davante. And so I'm really proud of what he was able to do. Some great pass deflections, great coverage the entire game. The part that frustrated me the most, there were 3 plays where lined up on the other side of Davante Adams was Preston Smith. That is the largest recipe of disaster. And I've brought it up on this podcast before, because that's not the first time he's lined up as a corner. Preston Smith, if the only thing you're going to do for him in man coverage like that is just block the receiver at the line, don't have him line up 10 yards away from the receiver. Do not do that. It is the worst thing you can do. So Preston Smith, stay on the line. Joe Barry, don't be confused. He is not good enough to cover Davante Adams.
So there are not like Joe Barry you're trying to get out of there.
Oh, 100%. Joe, you are gone.
Whenever Joe Barry was hired, you were all in on him, and I was like, I've been through that, and I warned you, and now you're coming back, and it's like,
well, hold on.
Josh was right.
My thing with Joe Barry was also a roller coaster. He was my 3rd person I wanted for that job. There were 2 people before him I wanted. And then he did something miraculous for like 8 games in a row where we had a top 5 defense. And I'm like, okay, I think Joe Barry could do this. And outside of those eight games, I was pretty high on him during those 8 games, which didn't come till his 2nd season.
True.
And I did an apology on this podcast.
Was thrown around.
Yeah, I did an apology on this podcast to Joe Barry for doubting him all this time. And he just threw that back in my face.
He's like, oh, you're going to apologize? Take this bad performance.
Yeah. And here's the thing that needs to happen. We're on a bye week. Coming back, we play Denver. I don't want to see man coverage, or I don't want to see zone coverage on every play. We're leaving too much space with these receivers and large gaping holes in the defense for passes to be completed. When Eric Stokes comes back in 2 weeks, we need to return to a pretty aggressive man coverage and balance it with the zone coverage. Don't just do one, don't just do the other. Have a good balance of the two and really put out your players for success. When we come out against Denver on the offensive side, we just need short, fast completions and good runs to gain some confidence.
I've heard a lot about how the defense was bad, but the offense didn't look great. What are your thoughts on that offense right now?
Yeah, we just need confidence. When we've had confidence in the game, we've had really good drives and we've moved forward. And then we get away from our areas of confidence and try to do stuff we are not confident in. And when that happens is when we fail. And 80% of the time, we're doing stuff we're not confident in. Stick to the stuff we can do. Let's just get short, fast completions, focus on getting first downs, and then that will lead to success.
And I think you need Aaron Jones.
Oh, Aaron Jones would make the world of difference. And it's hard with our young receivers right now, too. A lot of times when I saw them running their routes during the game, they'd all be jumbled up in the same area together, 10 plus yards down the field. That leaves no holes in the defense. That just puts all of the defense on your select few guys. And so we need to space out the defense better and have better execution on our routes so that there are holes in the defense for completions to be made. That's another thing that goes with confidence. And so these young guys got to figure it out quick exactly what they're doing. That goes with blocking assignments on the offensive line. That's routes and the receivers. That's Jordan understanding the defense a bit better and moving forward like that. It's a low point for the roller coaster. The season's still going to go on. It's going to be a while before it's over. We're going to have a few games where we look great. And you're going to hear it from all the Packers fans. We think we've, seen Jesus. and we really haven't. But it's just going to be a roller coaster. This is a down point. We're going to have an up point guaranteed here in the next few weeks. I'm hoping for a good game against Denver, given that they're one of the bottom three teams in the NFL. Rotate them how you want. They're somewhere in there, bottom three. We need to come out and just hand Denver what they deserve.
You definitely need to do that.
Yes.
I want the Denver Broncos to not win another game this year.
That would be great.
That's horrible of me, isn't it? I don't know why I'm so against Denver. I think it's just I'm not a big fan of Russ Wilson and Sean Payton. Anyway.
That's fair. All right.
Anyway. Well, hey, thanks for being on with us. We know you need to get out of here and get going to some other stuff. Glad you could be in the studio with us today to hear that Packers perspective, and we're going to root for them against the Broncos in a couple weeks. But we'll root for them in the bye too.
That's right. We will win the bye. Coming out of the bye, we've been told Aaron Jones will be back. We've been told Eric Stokes will be back. Jair will be better. So it's a nice time to have it because we can get some of our players we need on the field quality rest.
I have Aaron Jones in fantasy, and I hope he's back because I need him too.
I lost. So I was playing probably one of our viewers right now, Nate, who's been a viewer for a while, one of my friends for like the last 15 years. I was playing him, and I had 5 points to beat him. And I was like, Aaron Jones, done game. Game's over. I have Aaron Jones left, and he's out. I have to find a new guy, and I only get 2 points. But I have a question before you leave. So I've seen, maybe it's fake, maybe it's news, but I've seen Jerry Jeudy linked to Green Bay as a trade opportunity, I guess you could say. And B, I've seen the Packers have interest in trading Preston Smith. What do you think of those two perspectives, I guess, from your side of things?
Yeah, nothing's off the table. Everyone with a question mark, if the team doesn't want him, they don't want to be with the team. The Packers are in those talks. That is not a debate. We are.
I'll tell you who you're not going to get in a trade. Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor. We will not get Jonathan Taylor. But we had that talk. We did have that talk.
But it is now off the table.
A big name that is not off the table, that probably will not happen. A guy I think that would look really good in green and gold is Davante Adams.
I can't picture it. I just can't get it in my head.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Photoshop a jersey on him or something like that.
Yeah, we'll have to Photoshop the jersey. And we have someone that's already 17, our kicker, on the roster, so we'll have to work that out as well. Jerry Jeudy, I would not put off the table. Preston Smith being traded, I also would not put off the table, especially now that he has such a diverse resume. He can play linebacker and corner. What defense wouldn't want that? Right. So give it. If you give us a first-round pick, I'll guarantee him. If you give us Davante Adams, I'll give you him. And I'll give you a third-round pick because we don't draft in the third round well. Preston Smith being traded, nothing's off the table. There was a trade option that I liked before Scary Terry signed his big contract of a second-round pick in Elton Jenkins for Terry McLaurin. I would have loved that.
I might have. Honestly, looking at it now,
a quality offensive lineman.
I love Terry, and I'm not saying I want to trade Terry, but our offensive line is so weak that that might have been a trade I could be okay with. And it's not like trading Terry for like a 4th-round pick or 5th-round pick because he's disgruntled with the team or something like that. It's like we get something back in return. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like
you get an offensive lineman that has played all 5 positions, and every time he plays any position, he's in the top 5 of that week for playing that position. And so that's quite a bit of value there. So I wouldn't have minded trading him for Terry and throwing a pick in as well. That was before he signed his contract. Hollywood Brown, I've heard as well.
Yep.
To Green Bay, just kind of a more veteran guy that has seen some stuff is what we're looking for. Because right now our oldest receiver is Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, and they're in their second year of the league. And so, and both of them have missed substantial time due to injuries. And so we need someone that's completed a season, that's seen some stuff, and OBJ is not the answer. He is never the answer. And we've been pretty vocal about that.
In Baltimore right now either. So
yeah, well, he's injured right now. I don't keep up with it too much, but I saw and I kind of chuckled on that. But I'm not gonna rule out anyone. Hunter Renfrow, I would take him for a 6th-round pick at the way people are being traded right now. Or send them Rasheed Walker. I don't care. Send them someone or a day 3 pick. For Hunter Renfrow, I'd be fine with that. But we'll just wait and see what happens. I know the Packers are in talks with every team that has a question mark about someone. I was kind of hoping that the Bears were just going to cut Chase Claypool and then the Packers would just pick him up because that's kind of where he was at. It was the Bears that said, don't come to the game this week. Mm-hmm. They said that to him. Is that right? I think Pat McAfee
so. Or they put him on the reserve or something like that, or they put him on the uninjured reserve or whatever it's called, or a healthy scratch, basically.
Yeah, because he wasn't doing anything in Chicago. He was a couch potato. I thought he could have been rejuvenated somewhere else. I think he'll fit well in Miami. I don't know how he would have fit in Green Bay, to be honest. I think we would have used him like Allen Lazard. Some short completions, some run block stuff, and that's about it. But we'll see what Miami does with him. I do expect a trade to happen in the next few weeks before the trade deadline, which is week 8. Week 8 is the trade deadline.
I believe so.
So I can see the Packers getting someone. We've been linked to running backs as well. I don't know outside of Jonathan Taylor who we would want to bring in. Jonathan Taylor, to me, is the guy you would want to pay a high dollar for. And to Matthew, that you do pay a high dollar for, because he's a guy that when he's not playing, changes your offense. And when he is playing, changes your offense. He's like Aaron Jones. When he's out, that's a different team on the field playing offense. We worked out, what's his name? He's from Illinois State, played in Jacksonville. James Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
We worked him out last week. And so I could see him coming in potentially and filling some holes there because he is a dynamic player. And if you use him right, he would be very good. But I don't know. It's gonna be a long season. I'm waiting for the roller coaster to hit the upswing so I can feel better throughout the week.
It's coming.
Or as long as the Bears lose every week, I'm also like very happy. So either one,
Before, how would you feel? Because the Packers, they look all right. The Bears last 2 weeks, they look good. How would you feel as a Packers fan if the Bears were third and the Packers ended up being fourth? Because we already know the Lions are going to be the number one team in the NFC North. But they've already hit that climax, and they're not going to fall off until the end of the season.
Hold on. We got to confirm it with Blake still. Blake, when you listen to this, respond to our text. We've been trying to text you for 4 weeks now.
And every time I get on Snapchat or at Twitter or on Instagram or Facebook, I always see a new post by Blake or a new whatever. And I'm like, he's ignoring.
Yeah, because to Blake, it's still the Vikings division.
It is.
To us, it's been the Lions division
the Lions, yeah.
since the preseason. So we're all in on the Lions. I don't. Chicago is also on a roller coaster. I'm also just going to throw that out there. And so,
well, you guys are up here. You're down here. They're up here though. So,
well, yeah. And so we're going to go up. They're going to come down, and then both fan bases are going to be pissed or happy for different reasons. And then 2 weeks later, it's going to be switched, and 2 weeks later, it's going to be switched. I think both teams are definitely going to be within the top 12 picks, somewhere in there with our roller coasters of a season. We'll probably both finish between 6 and 8 wins for the season.
I feel like that's optimistic for the Bears. I feel like.
Well, because they're going to be on their roller coaster. So there's going to be some weeks where it's going to be like, all right, we're clicking, we can do this. And other weeks where it's like, we cannot do this. I think the Packers beat the Bears again. So I think we have that slight advantage to put us in third. Minnesota is also on an upswing right now. And I'm sure the two of you will cover the referees' decisions.
Yeah.
In that game.
It's in the script.
Yeah, my boss is a Vikings fan, and we had a great meeting yesterday, and 15 minutes of that was talked about what happened in the final moments of that game. But those are my official thoughts. I'll be back next week for a more in-depth analysis of that, and then I'll be gone. Well, maybe I won't be gone. I'm not sure. The following week, I'm having a surgical procedure done the Tuesday before. So maybe I'll be here, maybe I won't. Depends if I can get out of my bed and move my way over here.
That's all right.
But we'll find out. But I am going to hop off because I got to drive to a meeting.
Be safe, Brandon. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yes, next week.
Next week. All right. So it just ends up the two of us, but we're going to finish off by talking about Washington and Colts a little bit. And I'm going to let you start with Washington this week.
So I said last week, Ron Rivera, we talked about it. Ron Rivera, even Brendan Harris was on here, talked about it. Ron Rivera's on the hot seat. He's maybe was on the hot seat. We said last week, he's very much on the hot seat now. Jack Dorbello, very much on the hot seat now. And I said last week when we were talking about, the game preview, the score prediction, whatever, I said, honestly, I don't know what to expect. I don't know who's going to win, but I predicted like a 24-20 game or something like that. It didn't turn out like that, but I didn't know what to expect, and I don't know what happened, basically. So I guess I was right in that part. But overall, nothing went right the first half. I know you were watching the game because we were texting back and forth, and I was like texting every drive like a picture of you, every drive to give a reaction of what happened. And nothing went right the first half, and except maybe 3 points that we got. But the defense looked lost, and I mean lost, like on a deserted island lost, not like lost in the middle of, hey, we're driving to California and we're actually in Montana now, but we can still get there because we're on the same country. We're on an island lost where we have to, SOS to get back. We can drive to California if we're lost, but we're lost on an island. And that's what the team was. They were just completely lost, and SOS needed to happen, and it didn't happen. The defensive line didn't get any pressures, and I'm surprised it didn't happen against one of the worst offensive line in the league. Well, offensive line in the league. Of course, the Commanders are there too, but and just nothing happened. Offensively, things kind of started clicking, but then they didn't, and it was just kind of like up and down for the first half. Once again, offensive line sucks, and I'm surprised. And against another very bad defensive line, I'm surprised we didn't dominate that. or at least not dominate, but do better than we have in the past couple weeks against, an okay defensive line like the Eagles, or a great defensive line like the Eagles, and the Bills. We performed all right, but we just performed worse offensive line wise. We performed worse against the Bears than we did those 2 games, and I'm really surprised that happened. Nothing went right, and the second half kind of came in, and it was like all my Bears friends were like, "Yeah, their comeback's gonna happen." I'm like, "Not a chance, not a chance." And it started happening. Offenses started clicking. We scored 17 points, and nothing else happened after that. Sam Howell, though, I mean, he looked great. I mean, he looked like a starting quarterback. I don't know if you saw it, if you were watching the game at the point, but he made these plays that were like, and, when you remember Eli Manning in the first Super Bowl against the Patriots, where he was clinging, like he was about to get sacked, grabbed by the helmet, whatever, and that's what he was doing. He was making those type of plays, getting out of the pocket and scrambling for like 5 yards. And that's what I wanted to see, like, because the pocket obviously collapsed. The offensive line sucked. But for him to get out of that and, still have some time to maybe make a throw, but if not, make a run for 5-10 yards, whatever, he did that. And that was great. But when he threw, he was throwing dimes in the second half. And just the defense couldn't keep up with the Bears offense in the fourth quarter. I'd say the third quarter we did pretty well, but the fourth quarter, it all just started going wrong. And I will give props to one player on defense that did his job, but it just didn't go the right way. Kendall Fuller was playing in the fourth quarter. He was playing against DJ Moore, and there was a pass that Justin Fields threw that was about to be that he tried jumping, and if he jumped it, we were back in the game, but he didn't, and it went for the DJ Moore's third touchdown. I give props to that, because you try to get us back in the game. You don't try to play, you tried playing hero ball, and this is a time to play hero ball. A lot of people say you're trying to play hero ball, or you're trying to play selfish ball or whatever, and it's not working out and you're detrimenting the team. This guy played it, and he was in the right position to do it. It just didn't work out. And I give him props for at least trying, because nobody else on defense tried until I'd say the third quarter and some of the fourth quarter. But
here's what I'm going to say is, I played against DJ Moore in my fantasy league. And
I played against
your
Justin
defense.
Fields.
Your defense really let me down. I lost by just a couple points. He scored 57 by himself, and that was without getting that fourth touchdown that probably wasn't out of bounds.
Yeah, let's be honest. It wasn't. But either way, I mean, there was some weird calls anyway in the game, both sides, not just Commanders, but both sides, like the stepping out and some DPI, the DPI against Mooney and the end touchdown, which it can go either way. I can see him going for the ball, but he was also in the face mask, like trying to go for the ball. So he but either way, there was either on both sides of the ball, there was some risky calls or weird calls that happened. But we talked about Ron Rivera last week, and I'd like to hear your opinion about this, but the difference of coaching styles between these two guys. So Ron Rivera came out of, how they have to do like a press conference, I guess, like a meeting with the coach before the game second half starts, and it's like, what did you tell your players, or what did you guys talk about in the locker room? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
You know what Ron Rivera said to the announcer or whatever?
I don't.
I let the players talk to each other. And you know what Eric Bieniemy said a couple hours ago in a press conference about Sam? So somebody asked about Sam Howell, and he says this. Eric Bieniemy said, or this is a tweet. So Eric Bieniemy said this, but I'm just going to read the whole tweet. Eric Bieniemy says the whole team needs to be better to limit the sacks on Sam Howell, but adds that some of that is quote unquote self-inflicted by Howell. You love to keep your quarterback clean, but I can see the growth process. There's a big difference in an in-depth explanation of what went wrong or what is going wrong, like Eric Bieniemy said, and just I let the players talk. That is not a leader to me. That is we're down by 20 points, or we're down by whatever it was. We're not going to come back. I'm just going to let the players talk and see what they can do. That's just putting leadership on somebody else. And as a coach, as a leader, that's not something you should do.
I think you're done with Ron Rivera.
I'm done with Ron Rivera. I'm done with Jack Del Rio. I mean, in my notes here, it says Rivera and Del Rio aren't even on the hot seat anymore. They're officially done. And I understand, because we don't have something going on, but I understand Josh Harris not wanting to make a midseason move, but I expect it to happen some point at the end of the season. Both of these guys are going to be gone.
Well, I'm sorry your Commanders are where they are. What is your record right now?
2-3. I'd like to add a couple things before we move on to the Colts, because one thing I'll just go over based off of how quick I can talk about these. The offense, and I think from the second half or late in the first half or early in the second half So basically, either the full second half or the full second half and some of, like, I'd say a third or a quarter of the first half. So like 5 minutes left in the second quarter till the end of the game. We didn't do a single run play. We threw 50 plus straight pass plays and not a single run play. And that is the reason we lost. I understand we were down by 20. We've done this, whatever. But once you score and you're up 20, what was it, like 27-17, or we were down 27-3 or something like that. We're at 27-10, and then we're down 27-17. You got to mix in these run plays because the defense is going to expect a pass, and they're either going to blitz the whole house because we have a terrible offensive line, or they're going to play full coverage and nobody's going to get open. And we didn't do a single run play. And that's, as much as I love Eric Bieniemy, that was on Eric Bieniemy. I understand trying to get back in the game, but you got to mix it up a little bit to, catch the defense off guard. Whether that's a QB option with Sam Howell because he has legs and he's a truck, or with Brian Robinson, and just incorporate some of these plays that might catch the defense off guard. And we didn't do that. Another thing I'd like to add before I get into my another rant about Ron Rivera, is on either Wednesday or Tuesday, there was a sign posted in the locker room, either on the locker room door or just in the locker room, that says, "Do your job." Why would you post that? Like, what does that have to do with anything? I mean, like,
it's the old Belichick thing, right?
Yeah, of course it's a Belichick thing, but Ron Rivera is a completely different coach. I mean, do your job. I mean, Ron Rivera, A, should be doing his job, but B, some of these players are playing well. Sam Howell's playing well. Kendall Fuller's overall been playing well. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, do your job. That maybe that incorporated him and he meant that, but overall, I feel like it incorporated the players, and he's like, I've been doing my job. I think these guys need to do their job. And that's just not a right mindset for a coach. So that is the beginning of my rant. I wanted to get into the second part of it. So we have like a lot of first round picks on our defense. Our defense is supposed to be star studded, basically, especially the defensive line. I want to go through a couple of the picks from, Ron Rivera's recent drafts since he started in 2020, and just see where. I just want to tell you very quickly where they are now. It's been 3 years. So Chase Young, he's still on the team, but he's playing well too. I think he has a very high pressure rate this season, so he's playing well. Great coming off an injury. Antonio Gibson, overall, a good player. Saquid Charles, our starting left guard, he's playing all right. Antonio Gandy Golden, off the team. Keith Ishmael, off the team. Khalil Hudson, and Brandon's back in the car this time. He commented. Khalil Hudson, I think he's on our practice squad or on our team, but he needs to be starting over Cody Barton because he's a fast linebacker safety hybrid. Cameron Curl, very good safety. James Smith-Williams, he's a depth piece. He's all right. 2021, Jamin Davis, he started out slow, but he's kind of progressing a tiny bit. Sam Cosme, starting right guard, he's playing all right. Benjamin St. Juste, playing all right. De'Ami Brown, our second third round pick, he's playing okay, but he's had some struggles. John Bates, a backup tight end. Derek Forrest, a starting safety when he's injured currently, but when he's not injured, a starting safety. Cameron Cheeseman, he's had problems he's a long snapper. He's had problems snapping the ball. Liam Bradley King, Shaka Toney, and Dax Milne, I don't even think these guys are on the team. 2022, Jahan Dotson, great wide receiver too. Kadarius Matthews, injured last year. We haven't seen him play at all. Brian Robinson, great running back. Percy Butler, he's more of a special teams player. Sam Howell, future at quarterback. Cole Turner, a very tall tight end that I'm waiting to see happen. Logan Thomas has been playing well. And you're just like...
We're going through all 53, aren't we?
No, this is the draft picks. And then when it gets to 2023, which is this year, so some of these guys may not have a chance to play, but overall, Emmanuel Forbes struggling immensely. Jartavius Martin, when we could have drafted linemen, we drafted another cornerback or safety, another secondary piece, basically. He's injured and he hasn't played a single snap this season. So I think he's starting this week at safety because of Derek Forrest's injury. Ricky Stromberg, our third round center, hasn't played a single snap, maybe a couple. Braden Daniels, our fourth round offensive tackle, hasn't played a single snap in a struggling offensive line. And the rest of these guys are just depth pieces. So I can understand maybe they get but basically, mostly our 2023 draft. I'm looking at most of our 2023 draft. These guys are struggling immensely, and that just shows that you don't have to. You need to get a real GM. You don't have to have, and you need to take that power away from Ron Rivera or Martin Mayhew. You need to get a real GM who knows how to draft a talented roster, because whenever Emmanuel Forbes, understandable. He's a ball hawk. Maybe he needs time to develop. Understandable. Some players need that. Second round pick. We easily could have drafted linemen, but we went with secondary again. So these things that Ron Rivera isn't noticing, a GM would easily notice and put these positional needs higher than just, oh, we needed secondary depth in the second round when these guys were here. You know what I mean? It's just like the cluelessness of Ron Rivera is getting to us at some point. And if we want Sam Howell to be the future and succeed in the future, we're going to need to be drafting offensive line, which is a very high positional need, which I'm hoping our new GM and new coach next year realize that. But also just a good defensive coordinator overall, because Del Rio is not cutting it out, and I'm tired of it, honestly. And that's what all I have to say. You can move on to the Colts now.
What you're hearing here is the voice of bottled up frustration, like beginning to explode out. Right, Josh? You're feeling all of this frustration. This is like the opposite of Brandon, who used to tell us about every person on the Packers roster from a glowingly positive point of view. Now we got every person on the Commanders roster from a glowingly negative, from a quite negative point of view. Not everyone, but we understand. We've all been there with our teams. I'll say with the Colts, mine will be concise and short. The Colts, the heartbreaking thing is Jonathan Taylor signed a contract. And everybody was excited about Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor on the same team. Oh, the scare that's going to throw into defensive coordinators. Unfortunately, Anthony Richardson just put on IR for at least 4 weeks, maybe out for the year. We'll see. Hurt his shoulder. And it does worry you. You start to see these visions of RG3, right? The mobile quarterback who gets hurt. I know he's bigger than RG3 was, but everybody he's playing against is big. So we hope the best. We hope Anthony Richardson is back in 4 weeks. But for now, we have Gardner Minshew, who came into this game just shortly after it started and finished it off with a win. And I do believe that Gardner Minshew's time with the Eagles, with Shane Steichen when he was there, is a great benefit to us right now. And Zach Moss went crazy. Everybody's talking about Jonathan Taylor, but Zach Moss rushed for 165 yards and had touchdowns and had a 56-yard run, I think it was, one break for that. And he's looking great. You get Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss, along with Gardner Minshew, who can throw the ball. He may not be as talented at taking off and running as Anthony Richardson. I still think we have chances to win. So we go up against the Jaguars this week. I'm going to go ahead and hit my preview. We beat the Titans, which was great this last week. We out-physicaled the physical, because that's exactly what happened. The Jaguars coming up is a very important game for us, because if they sweep us, it's going to be really hard for us to win this division. They beat us the first game. We've got to do well this game. This is Gardner's old team, so it's going to be a revenge game, and I'm excited to see it. I hope the Colts do well. Regardless, we knew this would be an up and down season, and it looks like Anthony Richardson may get that time of observing that we didn't want him to have. We wanted him out there getting reps, but he's missed a lot of reps already from injury. He's got to learn to play safer. And so I don't know if they're all just freak accidents or if this is him needing to play a little differently. But we're going to continue to love Anthony Richardson when he gets back. We're going to wish the best for him. But I would say Zach Moss this week was awesome. Zaire Franklin this week. Zaire Franklin hit Derrick Henry on a 4th and 1, kept him from going, and that's not a small thing. And Zaire Franklin leads the league, I think, in tackles. So excited about those players, excited about what Minshew will do. It looks like, I said Minshew won't get a lot of chances to be MVP. Well, he's going to get at least 4 more and maybe more beyond that. But that's my Colts. I'm excited about them still. I'm here for the up and down season. And actually, out of all of our teams, they have the best record right now.
That's right. That is right. And they're surprising us all. But before we move on to our second or third segment of our day, we had to skip over it. But Brandon asked, who was with us earlier for the other viewers watching, Brandon left because he had an appointment. He asked me, Josh, can you play better than some of these draft picks? And my answer to that is, Brandon, you saw me run my 40 at Titletown. I run like a 5.4, but I just ate. So maybe it's a 5.2 or maybe a 5.1. So maybe, but honestly, I think the problem is Ron Rivera is not for example, Emmanuel Forbes, first round pick, has some immense talent. a ball hawk. He just needs to be in the area. And Ron Rivera's, you need to throw him in. I feel like the NFL and sports in general is the only time where throwing that person in the fire, if you know what I mean, like throwing that person into the fire is the only way that'll work out and make them better. You know what I mean? Like if you're just going to keep them on the sideline and it's like, we're going to keep him practicing until we're ready to play him. You know what I mean? It's not going to work. If you throw him in the fire and put him against the best of the best, like AJ Brown, like you put against a week ago or 2 weeks ago, or Stephon Diggs, like 3 weeks ago, or DJ Moore, he's going to learn from those guys. And Ron Rivera's taking him out, when he's doing bad at games. He's taking him out and putting our cornerback, our backup cornerback in, and that's not going to be any beneficial for him because he's not learning to play. He's just getting his confidence busted. And it's like, I must be doing terrible because I'm just getting taken out. And that hurts him in the long run. So answer your question, maybe, but probably not.
It's the argument that goes back and forth on Anthony Richardson. Do you throw him in or do you sit him and let him learn? No, it's the same with everybody. Hey, we're going to hit another segment. This segment is one that's new this week, and it's kind of looking at the teams in the NFL. Maybe not all the teams, but we're going to try and identify the teams that may be living a Queen life right now and those that might be living an Ozzy life right now. So what I mean by that, Queen has a song. It is Don't Stop Me Now, right? We got some teams right now who are singing that. Don't stop me now. I'm having a good time. Things are going well. And we got some other teams that are. We got some teams that are like trying their best, but no matter what they're doing, this whole season is going off the rails. And we're going to identify which of those are the Don't Stop Me Now and which ones are the going off the rails. So Josh, why don't you lead us into this segment and let's talk about that.
So this is one of my favorite segments we do every year because I get to incorporate songs that Matthew knows, I know, and we both love.
They're not Taylor Swift songs. So
they're not Taylor Swift songs. Although there was a Taylor Swift song on the vote that I put out for our fantasy league, and one person voted for it, but it didn't win. Ozzy won by a clear count. But anyway, this is one of my favorite segments. We do it once or twice a year. We'll probably do it in 5 or 6 weeks to go look back and see if these teams are still in a Don't Stop Me Now mode, or are they still going off the crazy rails, or maybe they pick things up. But for the Don't Stop Me Now teams, we have the Dolphins, Lions.
Let's do this instead of just naming them. Let's go by a team and let's talk about. Let's kind of mix these up. Let's not just do them all in a row. Mix up the teams, and then talk about are they going off the rails or are they Don't Stop Me Now?
Lions.
What do you think? Lions have been winning a lot. They're first in their division. They're looking good, biting kneecaps, and the rest of their division is down. I think this is a clear. Right?
Me too. Easily. I mean, they're 2 games ahead of their division. They're not stopping. I mean, they beat the Chiefs week 1. I mean, their only loss was to who did they lose to? I don't know, but they've been playing well, extremely well. Next team we have is the Buccaneers, these are teams that more so either they're doing well or they're surprising us, and it's like, wow, they're doing well. So the Buccaneers are in this category for sure.
Buccaneers, he's already said it. They are. And that's Baker Mayfield. Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time because at the beginning of this, we all thought Baker Mayfield's going to be a mess down there. We watched him and Kyle Trask in training camp, and both of them looked horrible. That's all NFL Network and ESPN could talk about. It's like, oh, look at all these interceptions and these bad throws. This Buccaneers team, and we said it here on this. And now Baker Mayfield's out there throwing the ball, and he's like, "Don't stop me now," and he's having a good time.
And he's looking good, yeah. And he's looking good, yeah.
All right. How about the Patriots? Patriots are a team that perennially were feared. How are we looking this year?
They're easily going off the rails. I mean, they've had 3 points in the last 2 or 3 games total. And I think they're averaging like less 150 or something points or yards per game or something like that. And I said last week, and I said that Bill Belichick might be on the hot seat. And I understand that you guys disagreed because, he's been there since the start of the decade. But at some point, you got to turn the leaf over. And Mac Jones isn't their quarterback. And Bill Belichick might be getting old. And they might want a fresh start. But they're easily they're going off the rails.
The problem here is Bill Belichick might be on a seat that's heating up, but his bottom is so old he doesn't feel anymore. So he's not jumping off, right? Mm-hmm. It's a matter of how hot will that seat have to get before Robert Kraft says, okay, Bill Belichick, you're out. But Bill Belichick looked up and he saw Tom Brady leave and he saw Josh McDaniels leave and he's like, we're going to keep doing well. But as he's watching the games, all he can say is, crazy train for Bill Belichick, watching his team again at the bottom. Well, is he at the bottom with the Jets' problems? Mm-hmm. They're definitely not at the top of the AFC East.
Yeah,
I have to stop and think there. Okay, let's go on to the Dolphins. I'm just going to say right now, Dolphins.
Yep.
Having such a good time with Tyreek Hill out there running like crazy and Mike McDaniel being the young, crazy coach that he is, and Tua out there not being injured, and Waddle coming back and getting on that team. Now they got Chase Claypool. They've just got a whole mess of talent down there in Miami. And right now they're saying, don't stop me down. I know they lost to the Buffalo Bills, but
Bills are
the
top
Dolphins.
Team. Yeah.
Dolphins are going, and they're going to be a team that, as long as Tua doesn't get hurt, I think they're going to be showing up in the postseason hard and heavy.
But so intermission real quick. Brandon Harris asked, because we mentioned earlier, Belichick to the Chargers once Staley gets fired is his question. What do you think of this?
Belichick to the Chargers once Staley gets fired. I don't even know. I don't know, Brandon. That could be.
Seems like a plausible.
I feel like there's some team out there. This is the way I always feel about Justin Fields. If Justin Fields was let go, there's some team that's like, we can fix that. We can make that work. And there's probably some team that would feel that with Belichick. But the question is, will Bill Belichick feel like going to another team? He's getting old. He's had a lot of success. Does he want to do more? Does he want to go to a new place? Maybe not. Good question, Brandon. Good question. All right, let's go to Vikings. Vikings last year, they did they win there? No, they did not.
They did. Yeah, they did. They went 13-4
because Detroit beat Packers right at the end and kept them from going to play. Well, that wasn't the reason, because they were well ahead. Vikings won last year. This year, struggling a little bit, but are they getting it together, or are they going off the rails?
I feel like they're going off the rails. I mean, it's tough.
We're not playing more than 6 seconds of these songs, YouTube. So you just know that that even though I play them repeatedly, that we're keeping it down there underneath the limit. So hopefully this doesn't get blocked on YouTube. But I think they're going off the rails.
Yeah, I think it's not even their offense. I mean, some of it is their offense, some of it's not, because you have Kirk Cousins putting up MVP numbers, and Justin Jefferson, of course, he's on IR now, but he's performing at an extremely high level. And the defense just sucks. Offensive line sucks. Defense it sucks. So
Justin Jefferson just is injured.
Yeah, on 4 weeks IR. It's like a hamstring.
4-week IR.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard Justin Jefferson going on IR. I think it was Dylan Cole. We made the comment. Dylan Cole's in our fantasy league, and his name is not basketball, because when he started playing fantasy football with us, he just didn't know about football. He said, I know about basketball, and I know this is not basketball. And that's his team name. But he is on a revenge tour. Someone said, I think Brandon said, he's on a revenge tour because he is in the number 1 spot right now. And he made the comment, well, with Justin Jefferson going on IR, we'll see how that goes, because he has him. So it's only a 4-week win, it looks like right now. Hopefully that's all it ends up being. But I think their season has kind of gone off the rails of what they expected. They are, though, still number 2 in their division. So is it really off the rails?
No, they're last. Wait,
they're
no,
last?
They're third or last or something like that. Because the Packers are 2-3, the Vikings are 1-4, and the Bears are 1-4 as well. So,
okay, so they're tied for last. They're third or fourth.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, the Packers, they're having their own troubles right now. I don't think anything is like out of the question, except for it's getting harder and harder to look at getting into first place, because the Lions are playing.
Yeah.
Right, Blake Faith? The Lions are playing. All right. Who have we not hit yet? Hit another one. How about the Bengals? There's a perennially good team. Bengals, Joe Burrow, Chase. We got us a lot of talent there. What do you think this year?
I think it's tough to say. The record says differently, but look, they looked they looked back or close to being back last week. So right now, I'd put them right in the middle of. I wouldn't put them at Don't Stop Me Now because they're easily not there, but I wouldn't say they're going off the rails. I mean, that division is wide open. I mean, they're only a game behind. I believe they are.
You have summed it up exactly as I would. I would not put them in Don't Stop Me Now because it's not great.
Yeah, the whole
but
division.
I would also say it's not quite going off the rails like you think it is.
Yeah, whole
There's
division
time
is
to come back.
3-2, 3-2, 2-3, 2-3. So, or 2-2, 2-3. So there's time to make up for it, and they're not, completely down, but it's almost there.
I'm not even going to play a song for them. We're just going to say they're in the middle. They're in limbo. All right. How about the Broncos?
They're done.
Boy, has another team been able to say that more than the Broncos. I mean, even looking at the Bears season and what they expected with Justin Fields, when you look at the Broncos and the hype that was coming now that Sean Payton was coming. Well, you look back a year and the hype that was there with Russell Wilson, boy, that went badly. And then Sean Payton's going to come in and fix it. And Nathaniel Hackett was just a bad coach, said Sean Payton. I've never seen such a bad job. And then he comes in and the Miami Dolphins come in, lay 70 on him one game while Sean Payton is the coach. I think we can safely say the Broncos have gone off the rails even further, if that could be the truth from last year.
Yeah,
they're doing worse, right?
They're doing it's defensively, definitely. Last year they had a great defense or an okay defense, average above average defense, and that's what kept them in games. Their offense was what the problem was. But if you look at Russell Wilson's stats, he is, as he would say, cooking. Because I think he trademarked that, but Russell Wilson is quote unquote cooking. 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So the offense is definitely not the problem here. Sean Payton definitely fixed that. I don't know what the defense is, but the defensive problem is, but they need to get it together because they're what's holding the Broncos back, and they're making them go off the rails of a crazy train. But Brandon Colmark, not Harris, should the Packers trade for Justin Jefferson?
He's going to say that about every wide receiver.
Yeah,
well, of course you're going to say that. You've always thought Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in our fantasy stuff. Well, let's temper that. Devontae Adams, that whole thing. But you love Justin Jefferson. I don't doubt you would want to trade for him. I don't doubt if that was an offer on the table, you would do it immediately. Mm-hmm. I think we can all agree. Hey, let's talk about the Colts. The Colts had like one of the most intriguing rookies to come out in a long time physically. Didn't play a lot of games. People didn't know what it was going to be. He comes in, they're kind of winning, but he goes out the first game with an injury. He goes out one of these games he made it all the way through. I can't remember which one, but I think he went out the second game with an injury. I think he made it all the way through the third game. He went out the fourth game with an injury, and then he went out the fifth game with an injury, and now is on injured reserve. Is it going off the rails? No. That is the Colts, and that is Gardner Minshew. He's saying, hey, guys, don't get crazy. We're not going off the rails. Nobody expected much from us anyway. We're doing better than expected. We're actually tied for first place in our division, and we're playing that team this coming week. And I think Gardner Minshew, Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. Now, we need to get Alec Pierce catching some stuff. Josh Downs just had a career game this last week, the rookie receiver. With Gardner Minshew, mind you, Gardner Minshew really has seemed to connect with Josh Downs really well. I think there's still, don't stop me now, there's stuff to be had in the AFC South. It's not the strongest division in the world.
Yeah.
Keep going, Colts. Keep going.
What's crazy is that, I don't know how if he is not, but Gardner Minshew has to be the most loved player on the Colts right now. Not because how he's performing, but because when every press conference he's going into and they ask the reporters or the whatever, they ask, is this your team now that you're starting and you'll be starting, and every answer he gives is like, this is Anthony Richardson's team. I'm just taking over. Or I'm just I'm just helping him out basically.
He has been the greatest backup for a couple of reasons. Back when Peyton Manning was here, we had Jim Sorgi. Perennial backup, great backup, ran a good scout team, never was going to play. Just forget it, But Gardner Minshew, he came in, he signed with the Colts, and probably was told, we're going to take a quarterback early. He knew it from the beginning, and he said, I'm cool with that. but I'm going to compete and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But I know this is his team. I'm going to get him ready. I'm going to mentor him. But when he gets hurt, I'm going to be here to help you out. And he hasn't come in and been a lame duck. He's come in and actually played well while still supporting Anthony Richardson, while giving props to his team. And I think he's got that kind of attitude. I loved it when it was in Jacksonville. I loved it when it was with the
Philly.
Eagles.
Yep.
I love it now. If it wasn't for the fact that we have Anthony Richardson and I want Anthony Richardson to have a long and illustrious career, I would be like, I love having Gardner Minshew. I just love his attitude. So don't stop us now.
So before we get into our next team, Brandon asks, something I saw recently was Andy Dalton to the Jets. How would they?
What is going on, Brandon? You're coming in with all these like trade things in the middle of a segment.
I thought he was in a meeting. But I don't know. I just looked on Twitter. It's not true yet. I think it's just all it was a rumor. But how would we place the Jets in this segment? But I actually didn't place them. I almost placed them in crazy train mode, but I didn't place them anywhere because we probably would have put them in Don't Stop Me Now. But Zach Wilson has almost been playing average at some games. I mean, they should be a better record than they are. So it's like you put them right in the middle. And if Andy Dalton's there, I'd assume you put him right in the middle too, because I don't think he can do any better than Zach Wilson. I mean, maybe a little bit better, but I don't know.
I think that, in my opinion, where expectations and media hype and just that team was at the beginning of the year to where they went 4 snaps in. I almost played both of them at once. I think they've gone off the rails of where their expectations for the year was and where their performance for the year was going to be. I saw Blake Faith at our EIU tailgate here this week. And of course, he was all over the fact that you guys picked the Jets and you were so dumb. And I'm like, here's the thing. Picking the Jets with Aaron Rodgers and what he brings to that team was not dumb. Where they're at now, that's not indicative of where Aaron Rodgers would have had them. This is completely off the rails from what they expected. And I think Zach Wilson, though he's played better, I don't think he's going to take him to the promised land, especially when he's in the division with the Dolphins and the Bills. They're off the rails. This year is lost. And the worst part is they're so off the rails that they're not going to get a good high draft pick. They're in that no man's land where they're going to get like a 15, later, mid-round pick. That's worse.
Yeah.
So I would say Jets, even with Andy Dalton coming in there, I don't think it's enough. The old Red Rocket or whatever they call him.
Yeah.
He's decent, but he's not ever going to be like great.
Brandon says, well, he's driving to his meeting, but then he says, we need to corner Blake and ask him what his thoughts are. But
I'm sure he would be happy to talk loudly and over top of us. Right,
Brandon Harris comments, the other Brandon comments back, the Jets are an older version of the Packers. Really good running backs, bad offensive line, one really good receiver. And when the defense is clicking, it's really good. And honestly, that's right. But save a bit of time. I'm just going to name the rest because I made.
Oh my goodness, he wants to talk for 2 years about the Commanders, and then he wants to rush us through this fun part about the Don't Stop Me Now.
Do we have a couple other segments to do?
We can go. We can go.
So I'm just going to name a couple of teams that I have on this list, and you tell me quickly. I guess you could play the sound if you agree, and if you disagree, you can talk about them and say why you or whatever. Chiefs, Eagles, 49ers, and Falcons are all in. Yeah.
Man, 49ers, Chiefs, Eagles, all those that you mentioned, looking good. I don't think there's a question in the world.
Going off the rails, Panthers, Giants. And that's the only two we missed.
Poor Panthers. Poor Giants. Both of them. Giants make this big contract for Daniel Jones. Stupid. Everything worked out badly.
He's not even playing this week. Daniel Jones isn't. They're playing Sunday night football against the Bills or Monday night or something like that. And Daniel Jones and Darren Waller, I don't think they're playing at all.
And then, Carolina, love him as a person. Said it many times, but they got Frank Reich. And they picked Bryce Young. Right now, that looks like it's going off the rails on a crazy train. So So that was our segment, and you can let us know if you agree or disagree with some of those picks. I know there's some of those that we said are in the middle, some of those that we disagreed on. You let us know what you think in our comments on social media. But we are going to go ahead now to what, Josh? What is the next part?
Just a quick week 5 recap. Anything outside of our homer teams, we can just name this the Brandon Harris recap because he doesn't have a team. So this is the Brandon Harris segment.
All of these are Brandon Harris's team.
Yeah.
Who he doesn't care about anybody in football. He likes them all. He likes football. Go Sports. Who we got?
The Saints, just like we talked about, the Patriots in Crazy Train Land. The Saints destroy the Patriots. The Patriots just look lost. Saints look like they...
Your second one there, though. Jaguars upset the Bills. I remember being forced to pick a different marquee game, and I picked Jags and Bills, and look at that.
I'm glad
Jags
you did.
beat the Bills.
Are you glad you did? Yeah. Chiefs once again won because of the refs. There was so many. This was Brandon Harris's marquee game, and there was so many like OPI or DPI calls that weren't called, and there was a couple late in the game too. A couple holding calls, a couple roughing the passer. And I just don't know when it stops, where the refs are like, the refs, people made fun of the Patriots, like the refs helped you in the Super Bowl, the refs helped you in this game to get to the Super Bowl or whatever. That's the Chiefs now. And it's always going to happen. Like, cause there's always going to be a dominant team, and there's always going to be, a team that's like the refs help this blank team or whatever. And it's like, when does it stop? But the Chiefs, it's gotten really bad. Like, I don't remember the Patriots ever being this bad with the refs. You know what I mean?
It's the thing that makes the conspiracy theories of the script continue to live, right? George Kittle and the 49ers dismantled Dak and the Cowboys. Ooh, Cowboys again.
Yeah.
Now Cowboys, who looked so unstoppable in the first couple
team,
weeks.
By the way, yeah.
Blake Faith's team. He was wearing the hat on Saturday, and the Dallas Star on it. Yeah, 49ers, I think we all thought the 49ers would, here on the podcast anyway, we all thought the 49ers would beat the Cowboys, and they did. So that's Cowboys are now, 3-2?
Yeah. Me and Brandon Harris were talking like at mid-game after the game, and we'd like to, I guess I'd like to get your opinion about this, but we were talking, and we think that we were talking about it, and we both agreed, somewhat that there's no team that's stopping the 49ers unless they bench players, because they secured the number 1 spot just to rest their players, whatever. There's no team that's stopping this team, honestly. At least regular season.
Oh wait, maybe not. Maybe no team. How about the Bengals? Bengals finally. By the way, I just want to throw out there, I get so tired of hearing national media call them the Bengals. Bangles are like a bracelet that slips over your wrist. That's a bangle. A bangle, E-N, is a tiger.
They sound the same.
They are definitely not. Bengals, Bengals. Bengals, Bengals. I hear Pat McAfee always says, he's like, the Bengals. It's like, it's not Bengals.
Well,
stop it.
Evan wants me to put this on here. Evan Ewens, Ewens all, or whatever you Kentucky fellers say. He says, I know you see this, Josh, say it, but he says Devin Witherspoon is the defensive rookie of the year. And now that Christian Gonzalez is out, I can see it happening, but there's also a lot of other players that could take it, but he's probably in the lead right now just because Christian Gonzalez is out.
Devin plays for what team?
Seahawks.
I wonder why you brought that up in the Bengals game, but...
Oh, because he commented. I just thought I'd bring up the comment.
Oh, he just... Okay. So there it is. Seahawks, they believe, has a defensive rookie of the year.
He believes that. I don't think it's because of the Seahawks. I think it's because he's from Illinois College or Illinois University or University of Illinois. I don't know. I always get the Indiana University, IU, UI, whatever mixed up. So he's from Illinois, and so that's probably why. But
there we go. Getting back to the Bengals. The
Bengals.
Do you think they're back?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the division is so close right now where anything can happen. I mean, the Steelers are in front right now. Do we ever think that? I mean, it's so wide open that anything can happen, and I feel like they're back.
Joe Burrow was injured and tried to come back too soon in order to will his team to win, but they just didn't have it. He typically doesn't play good in the first couple of weeks. You put the fact that he was injured before and leading into that. But I think at this point, they're going to start getting it back together. I hope, because I like the Bengals. Kenny Pickett changed Matt Canada's play call.
Before we move on, what's the difference? So the Bengals and the Bengals, is there a difference between the Bengals, the band?
Yes, they're the Bangles, B-A. It's
So like
spelled B-A, just like the bracelet that
like
goes over your
bracelet.
wrist. Bangles. B-E, Bengal. Like, think of it like the word Ben and the word Bane. Bangles?
Bengals. I guess. I mean, it's like saying, I don't know. I got to think of the word, but yeah. Moving on to the Steelers.
So what happened here?
We're all over the place. So on that one of the last plays on the Steelers offensive drives, we all know Steelers fans want Matt Canada fired. And so Matt Canada called the play from the boot from his, I guess his suite or his booth up there where the coordinators sit. And Kenny Pickett saw, the Steelers, the Ravens were playing, he said this himself. He said he saw they were playing, certain coverage, and he changed it to George Pickens to go on a fly route, and they got a touchdown off of it. I don't know if that shows how bad Matt Canada is, which it probably does. It's probably a mixture. I don't know if that shows how bad Matt Canada is, or if that just shows how good or how much of a progression Kenny Pickett has had over the past couple weeks.
You want your quarterback able to do that, able to look. That was Peyton Manning, the coach on the field.
Yeah, the sheriff. Yep, that was him.
You look around, you see what's going on, and you're like, I know what was called, but I also know what's happening. And having now it's good that it turned out well, because if he would have done that and it like totally flopped, that would not have been good for Kenny Pickett. All right, let's go to our Week 6 preview. We got games. I already talked about the Jags-Colts coming up. It's a big game for first in the AFC South. Colts need to win this one. Go Gardner Minshew. Go Zach Moss. Go Jonathan Taylor, who's getting more reps. Go Michael Pittman. Go Josh Downs. Let's see it all put together.
Yeah. Brandon already said they're on a bye, so we hopefully win. Hopefully the Packers win the bye. He said, no score prediction because it's a bye unless they lose the bye week. But Commanders and Falcons, these are two really evenly matched teams when you look at it on paper and on field play. I mean, Sam Howell makes plays. Desmond Ridder makes plays. Both of them have, some issues. Desmond Ridder, I've seen, and I've talked to Cody, who is the Falcons fan in our fantasy league. He said that, sometimes the confidence isn't there for Desmond Ridder, so he doesn't throw it on time, or he doesn't make the throws that should be made, whatever. Sam Howell sometimes like that. He holds on to the ball too long, trying to make a play. So these quarterbacks, this is a very evenly matched team, is what I'm saying overall. And all it comes down to is who is the better coach. I truly believe who is the better coach, who's the better offensive coordinator, who's the better defense coordinator, whoever can lead their team or the side of the ball to a victory. You know what I mean?
That doesn't bode well for your Commanders, does it? I know.
And I think what's going to save us is either A, Eric Bieniemy's offensive play calling, or B, Desmond Ridder's lack of confidence in throwing it, eventually leading to a sack or a turnover or something like that. But
so you think the Commanders are going to win this one?
Very closely, I do. I'm riding it high. I really am. 28-24.
There you go. And Brandon is on a bye. Packers are on a bye. He thinks they're going to win the bye. So we'll see. Marquee Manure, my oh my. I'm just going to let you guys, I didn't even get a chance to come in and look at the games this week before, so we'll just talk about what you and Brandon put. Brandon, I'll talk for his since he's not here. Brandon says his marquee game is the Cowboys at the Chargers. I don't know why he thinks this is a marquee game, in that the Cowboys have lost their last two. Chargers haven't been doing so great. Maybe that's why he feels like this is going to be the matchup to decide who's strong there. Mm-hmm. Brandon, you'll have to pipe in somewhere to let us know why you thought that was marquee. Marquee for you, Josh. What was it?
Mine was where is it? Seahawks at Bengals. Like we talked about earlier, Bengals look like they're back.
Bengals? Who's that?
Bengals. They look like they're back. Seahawks, they look really good. I was going to say dominant, but they're not truly there yet. But they look really good, and it's going to be a showdown basically. If the Bengals can go back to what they were, last week and continue that, confidence and that, whatever the boost of what they had, I think this can be a close game. So I'm going to pull up the schedule. So if you just want to pick a quick game real quick.
Oh, I've got you've got it too. I've got it bigger.
Oh, it's not on the third, template or whatever. So I just thought I'd pull it up just in case you didn't have it.
Here, I'll go ahead and throw mine on there, which is huge. There we go. Look at that. So which game do you like here?
You. Oh, Bengals.
Oh,
Bengals.
me?
Yeah, you. Mine is Bengals and Seahawks.
Okay. Well, let's see. If I'm picking a game here, let me go ahead and get rid of this background for us. If I'm looking at these games, let's see. What do I think is going to be marquee? Well, it's not Denver,
That's what I would pick.
KC, huh?
That's definitely what I would pick.
Yeah. Let's see. Baltimore, Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to play that game harder than people expect because of their embarrassment at the Colts last week. But I'm not going to call that my marquee. Washington, Atlanta, no. Minnesota, Chicago, that's a marquee manure game. That's like a can't miss manure game right there. They're both so bad, but they're both so bad it might be competitive. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that's one you picked. San Francisco, Cleveland. I think I might pick San Francisco, Cleveland as an upset game of the week. I'm just going to throw that out. Everybody's going to be like, what in the world? Every team has a chance, and I think this could be one that I think could happen. New Orleans, Houston, that might be an interesting game. Houston's been playing better. New Orleans has Derek Carr hurt. Is he back?
He's back.
He's back. So that could be something. Indy Jacksonville's going to be a my game because I don't, the fact that we don't have our full complement, I don't want to call that marquee at all. But Carolina, Miami, no, that's going to be an easily beaten Carolina team, I think. That's going to be my lock of the week. Miami over Carolina. I'm just going to throw that out now. I'm going to show you all my picks right now. New England, Las Vegas. I don't like either one of those teams. Detroit, Tampa Bay. Now that might be a good game. The way Baker's been playing and the way Detroit's been playing, they've both only lost one game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to hold on to that one as a possible. Arizona, LA. I don't care. Philly, New York Jets. I think Philly's going to take that one. Buffalo over New York, in my opinion. Dallas and Chargers. That's what Brandon picked. Maybe he just picked it because it was the last game and it wasn't a total blowout. I think I'm going to go with Detroit, Tampa Bay.
That's one of my games that I picked earlier or later when we talk about them.
Go ahead and talk about your picks, since I just basically went through all mine.
So just a refresher: Matthew's marquee game, Lions at Buccaneers. My manure game, Vikings at Bears. My Colts at Jaguars, and then we'll get into the other two later. My manure game is Giants at Bills. I mean, this just it's easier to pick now that Darren Waller and Daniel Jones are out, so it's a very great defense and a very great offense against very hurt and bad overall offense versus a below average defense. It's just, I feel like this could be a 38 to 10 score at the end of the game. That's like, I'm so confident that this is going to be a blowout, that because of these injuries and because of how bad this offensive line and overall team is, that I have no, like, I just don't know what to expect other than a blowout, honestly.
This is your lock of the week.
No, that too, it could be, but I picked more of, I guess, an easier one to pick. But that was my manure game.
Okay.
And then my is your marquee, Lions of Buccaneers. I just feel Lions are. We've always said this every week. We said this in the preseason. We said this when we were predicting. We said this now. Lions are a top team in the league, and the Buccaneers are surprising everybody. I feel like they've already passed our prediction standpoint. Of our. I think they had them at 2-15 or 3-14. So they're either there or they're about to be there. They're going to be there by the end of the season. And Baker Mayfield's playing like a competent quarterback. They still have a defense, and they have Mike Evans and Godwin. I feel like this could be closer than people think, and that's why it's my eyes, because although the Lions have a great offense and a pretty good defense, you might want to turn this game on if it gets anywhere close in score, because the Buccaneers could turn this in their favor.
All right, so let's talk about locks and upsets. I've already given mine, I think.
Yeah, Miami over Carolina and Cleveland over San Francisco is your locks. And my lock, is Eagles over Jets. I mean, I know the Jets have been kind of held back by penalties, or quote unquote penalties, against the Chiefs, and then they've just won against the Broncos. So they're riding high a little bit, but the Eagles are just like the 49ers, where I don't think anybody's stopping them unless these two teams play each other, which they will, or unless they play the Commanders late in the season, and then the upset of Ron Rivera every year happens. So that's the only two things I can see happening. But the Eagles look dominant overall. The Jets look kind of lost a little bit, going off the rest of a crazy train, like we said, And then upset is Texans over Saints. I mean, Texans kind of came off a bad week last week against I don't know who they played, but They look good. They look better than we expect, honestly, is what I'm saying. And I can see this being an upset. I mean, CJ Stroud has got it. Nico Collins is a great receiver for him. Dalton Schultz is going to be there. I know Nate, who's also watching, is a Saints fan, said that the Saints are pretty good against the tight end, so Dalton Schultz might not be a factor. But overall, I can see this being an upset with how I don't know. It's tough to explain, but I just feel the Texans could do it at some point. I feel like they have the roster finally to make upsets instead of like we all think they're going to lose.
I can see that. Well, let's take a moment for our commissioner's moment. I'm going to pretend to be the commissioner.
Brandon,
well, in fantasy, things are going crazy. Not basketballs at the top. Who would have thought that? And spicy pork burger. What is Brandon's name? Spotty
Livestock.
Spotty Livestock is sitting just outside the playoffs, but expect a strong comeback with JT coming back in the lineup. Unfortunately, Aaron Jones has been out, so Matthew's team is not doing so good. Rags to Richardson is back in the rags, right down below Spotty. And I don't know what else I would say about it. We've got some teams doing well. Here's what I will say. We got 8 teams at 3-2. I think 2 or 3 teams at 2-3.
Yeah, 4 teams. Yeah, 3 teams at 2-3. Sorry, and then one.
And then one at the bottom, which is who?
Panther, I better know, or something. Brian.
I am so sorry about that. I know that those have been some close losses in some cases, and unfortunately, this system does not grade on closeness, and so he's down at 1-4. But a lot of people at 3-2.
He's at 0-5.
0-5. Okay, you got to at least win one so we can keep our better than 0-15 name for next year. But we've got 8 people at 3-2, and the rank is all happening based on scores and whatever. But that's going to start to divide out soon.
Mm-hmm. This is as wide open as the AFC South, AFC North, or AFC South actually too. But yeah, we're all right there.
We're all right there. For the fantasy predictions, just kind of giving you an update on how we're doing at predicting games, all those people who vote. Josh, who is at the top? Who is it that could be so amazingly smart to be at the very top of the predictions?
It's me. I am actually. So week 5 results for predicting. Brian went 4-2. I went 4-2. Matthew, you went 3-3. Jacob McCormick went 3-3. Brandon went 2-4. Abigail went 2-4, and Adam went 1-5. Adam's not having a good week. Like last couple weeks, he went 0-6 in week 3. He kind of came back with a 3-3 in week 4, and 1-5 is But overall standings: me at number 1, 19-11. Matthew at number 2, 16-14. Abigail at number 3, 14-16. Brandon at number 4, just right behind his wife, 13-17. We have a couple stragglers at the bottom who either didn't vote or just very bad at voting. Cody at number 5, based off of win percentage, I guess you can call it, at 8-4. Brian at 5 also at 8-10, and then Adam at 5 also at 8-22. We're just basing it off wins, not win percentage. So most wins basically. Jacob McCormick at 6 at 7-11. Jacob Nelson at 7, 5-9, and then Dylan and Raphael at 8 at 2-4.
Okay, so that's our standings. All you really need to know about that is the 2 top are sitting right here on your screen, talking on your podcast right now.
Best at voting.
Don't forget, vote will be happening now. That's going to wrap it up for us here at the Football Fandemic, but there's a lot of great football to come. We're going to divide out these teams. So join us next week when Brandon's here for the whole time to talk about football.